Okay. It satisfies. Wow. There he is. What's up?
What's up?
Does he Paige got Halloween candy, she got like the big candy bars. So I'm taking those.
Good
Fun
idea.
sizes for her. No, the fun sizes for that's her
Exactly.
size.
Exactly.
There were some places that were giving out like all the big stuff, right? And she had like they were like asking like which one do you want? Like they had like that's all they were giving out. And dude, they were
Right.
posting it on like Facebook to get people there. It's like, oh, we're having at whatever house we're gonna have like the full size candy bars, or we're gonna be giving out like this or doing whatever, like get people to
Right.
their place. It was so weird.
That's weird. Some people love that shit though. They like to see the costumes and all that.
Did you guys get a lot of trick or treaters?
Nah, we for the last probably 3 years, probably since COVID, we just turn all the lights off and
Yeah.
yeah, no people here. It's just a hassle. We would. My mom would for sure, but I mean, with the dog, like he's just
Yeah.
he's so loud and so intimidating as well. You know
Yep.
him.
Yep.
So
Well, and you're in an interesting area because you're kind of like you're at the edge of, places. It's not like you would have that many anyways, really.
yeah, yeah,
So that would be tough.
yeah. No, when
But
we would give out candy before, I mean, you'd probably see, I don't know, maybe 100 kids throughout the night, maybe. I don't know.
yeah,
That might be high, maybe. I don't know.
we got a pretty good amount here. Well, I'll say in general in our neighborhood, but this past year was not as busy as it has been before.
Right, but your neighborhood's huge.
Right. So we have a good amount of like
Yeah.
kids and it's, we're right by the school and all that stuff. So we do get like a good amount of people. So it was a
Hmm.
good it was a good year. It was a fun year. We haven't been as I remember when we first moved in 9 years ago now, it seemed like a bigger deal than it is has been as of late, but like we're getting like it's just getting weird. I think we're just getting older. People are getting older. They're doing other stuff. Some people are going with their grandkids now and doing
Right.
that instead of this stuff. So it's kind of becoming a smaller thing. But we usually do like a potluck in the middle, and that's what we did. We still did it, but just not as well. It just wasn't as popular. And for us, we're trying to go out there with Tage too, so we're not hanging out like we once
Right.
were either.
Right. Right.
So you didn't dress up as anything?
Well, I did, but
Oh yeah.
it's weird to explain it, and it confused so many people because it was just me being funny.
Okay.
So I'll explain it to you. All it was so I was going to a huge Halloween party that's outside, so I wanted to be comfortable because it's been kind of cold here.
Yeah.
So I just ordered this like hoodie outfit that's like crazy. It's got like it says stuff all over it like trick or treat, boo, spooky, like spider
Okay.
webs. So it's like a Halloween sweat outfit, but it's not really a costume. And so
Okay.
I was telling everybody I'm festive. And when they were like, oh, okay, we get it. And I'm like, no, no, don't confuse it with like I'm being festive. Like I am festive.
Okay.
You
I
know,
like it. I like it.
I cheated. I cheated. I cheated.
Hey, you know what? You're going to the party. Was it a two piece? When you say it, it's so funny. I think of it as this like onesie that you're wearing around.
No, 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 no. Like a hoodie and sweats. Yeah,
Okay.
no. Sweats and a hoodie. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we went to a Halloween party the weekend before it. Um, and I went as a dill pickle and Allison went as a female deer, so a doe. So we were a dildo. That was our costume together. It was pretty
Of course
good.
it was. Of course it was.
And we're so cheap. So all I did was
Right.
like wear green stuff, and then I put the word pickle on
Right.
me, and then she just wore. We got like she got some antlers over from next door, like an antler thing. And I had to tell her, I'm like, you do know that like female deer don't have antlers, right?
Right.
Like, but So that was the only tough part of it, but that was she's like, that's besides the point. People get it as a deer and then it'll be good. So
Yeah,
that's usually our style. I
yeah.
did see one, I think I may have sent it to like Bob or some other people, but Allison sent it to me and it was an awesome costume. It was a guy that was like dressed up like a piñata and he had the a bucket of candy and his wife is behind him just with a fucking pool noodle, like hitting every time she hit him, he had to throw candy in the air.
That's pretty
Oh,
good.
that was great. I love that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
All right, man. Are you ready to rock and roll on the this
Sure.
this stuff here? Okay. I got my PowerPoint and all this stuff.
I
So
love that before you even bring it up, I'm not positive because I didn't even care to look, but I love that I'm on the podcast filling in on the week that I'm pretty positive I was the ass whooping of the week. I'm almost certain of that.
yeah, there are actually three of them. So you're one of them. Yeah, you are one of them. For certain, unfortunately. We've all
Yeah.
been there, We've all.
Well, I don't know how much you've been paying attention in the last 2 hours, but things have
Oh,
changed.
oh, I know. We got Dory. I got to set up. I got because I also want to. We'll get into it. So we'll get into it. But I like it. I like it for both sides, and we'll talk about it when we get to
I
that
got
part.
more in the works too. I'm waiting.
Oh,
I'm waiting for people to finish voting to be able to look at the trades that I've sent them.
okay. Well, maybe I'll float one out there to you as well. You don't know. You never know.
I'm always open to hearing trades.
We we literally like that, Joe. Yeah. Well, welcome, fam, to the week 9 recap of the 2024 season of the FFFL. And we're gonna get right into it. I'm gonna share my screen, get my beautiful PowerPoints, always going. I gotta make sure they're there. Boop, boop. Oh no, we're not there. Let's go here. We're gonna start it off, slideshow from the beginning. Let's get her in the week 9 2024 recap. So I've kind of mixed it up this time because of what you're talking about and a little bit of something else, but we'll do our matchups like we always do, get into the injury report like we always do, but I've actually moved Trade Central ahead of the waiver wire what to do's. Actually, main reason, not what has transpired with you within the past couple hours, but the NFL trade deadline was today and it just ended not too long ago. So I would like to go through some of the trades that happened, and you'll obviously know of some of them as well, and maybe we can touch on the fantasy impact of those because legitimately you have some of those players you might want to pick up on the waiver wire based on maybe trades that were made. So I wanted to actually get that in before we do the waiver wire what to do's. Javante Watts, you and I haven't talked about it since Godwin really went out. I know that was part of our stipulation, but he was doing so well. I didn't like that because I felt like he's doing better than Javante. Javante again, just mediocre week. I mean, he didn't really move the needle this week much, but we'll still touch on that. Then we'll get into the comment of the week and finish it off with the week 10 matchups. Are
Sweet.
you ready to talk about the week
As ready
nine?
as can be. As ready
Yeah,
as can
right.
be.
Okay, well, we are starting with yours because yours was the biggest one by 60 points. But Sam's team has been kind of on a rolling, building and building, like Glenn said in last week's podcast. Sam's been kind of building up to this. But I remember we're keeping it to one takeaway. But what was yours? You're the one that faced this matchup. And so I give you a little bit more leeway since it was your specific matchup and how you felt or what happened.
I mean, just another week of underperformance from my players. I mean, I've been going through it. Obviously, I haven't been on the podcast and me and you haven't talked much because I've been so busy, but
Yeah.
I am just not scoring touchdowns. Like if
Yeah.
you go through like the last like 5 or 6, maybe even weeks, I'm just not getting touchdowns. I had a week where no one scored a touchdown on my team. Nobody. The week after
Jeez.
that, I
Yeah.
think I had
Oh,
two
yeah.
touchdowns. And like I know, I mean, you look at those numbers, they're not bad, right? If you put a touchdown on all of those numbers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe not every player, obviously, but
Well, oddly
It's
enough,
just
you're like your worst player had a touchdown.
right,
It
right, right.
was very
So
weird,
so
but
that's
kind of true.
I look at that, and I don't want to take anything away from Sam. 157. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
almost positive that's high score of the week, right? I mean,
Yeah, it
that's
is. He eked out Bob. Bob was about to do it 3 weeks in a row.
yeah.
He eked him
But
out, but
I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Sam. His team is phenomenal, and also everybody performed pretty much except his wide receivers.
yeah,
And even that doesn't matter. When you have three running backs and they're putting up 25, 30 points, you're probably going to be okay. Let alone with a quarterback putting up 40.
yeah. Burrow had a huge game. And my highlight was Achan has been great with Tua. I think that's the biggest downfall for like a Waddle and even Tyreek Hill. It just seems like Tua's throwing Achan the ball a lot, and he's just getting a lot of work in that
Mm-hmm.
offense. So we'll see if that has any changes that kind of happen to that one. But you're right, Sam, especially when Burrow goes off, that's going to vault him up there. But high score of the week for Sam. So nice job to you, man. But yeah, big time point total for him. And you're not. That's a tough one to beat, even if you guys do get,
Yeah.
what you're looking for. So tough
Yeah.
week for you. Feel for you. It wasn't the worst of the week. You could have beat a couple other people, but it's always tough when you can't break that 100 mark. You're just like you just feel crappy about it. So we'll
Yeah.
move on. I won't pressure you anymore on this
Yeah.
one because we had one that was pretty similar. Next up, unfortunately, Glenn uh, lost to Bob. Bob was just 1 point shy of high point of the week, really, putting up 157 on Glenn, who was at 108. What was the takeaway that you had from this matchup?
So quickly before I give you my takeaway, I will put out there just so everybody knows because we've been talking privately. I had another trade to Glenn and he countered my trade and I was going to accept it, except someone accepted a trade before that. So I sent Tyler a trade first. I was giving Tyler the option to accept the trade or not before I told Glenn that I would accept his counter offer. So sorry, Glenn, that
Okay.
I know you liked that counter offer and it would have been probably good for both of us, but
Yeah.
I wanted to go with the Tyler route. Again, I offered him first, and plus, I liked that trade as well. So,
Yeah.
this one, I think, again, you just have another team of just underperforming. And yet again, I don't want to take anything away from Bob because he put up 156 points. But again, he did that with three players, basically. I mean, he would have
Yeah.
probably, what is that? Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
70.
Combined, they got about 100. They got over 100 points with Hertz, Barkley, and Mixon combined.
Right. So just those three, you know what I mean, almost beat him. So,
Yeah,
just underperformance from a few people. And that's unfortunate too when you got a 31 point day from Chase Brown, you
I
know.
know. The guy that
When
I
you see
traded him, so I
that,
was I was I was happy to see it because Chase Brown is a guy who I know it looked weird in the trade and when it first happened, but like Chase Brown just every single week has gotten more and more work and looking better and better. So
right,
I'm glad that he's got a player in that trade, especially when Mike Evans went down. I was like,
right,
no. So at
right,
least he helped him in that
right.
regard. But you're right, his running backs score 56 points combined,
You
and then
love seeing that, right? You
yeah,
love that.
and then no
Yeah.
one else kind of really stepped up. And the only thing I will
Well,
say
quick
also is,
side, I do want to do a quick side note as
yeah,
well, man. Like, let's hope Chris Olave is all right.
yeah,
It
that's
wouldn't
what I
have
was gonna
affected
say.
this score really, right? But I mean, that
Yep.
didn't look good. That looked like a bad one.
Yeah, no, I thought the same. That's actually what I was going to get ready to say. Like, another player on Glenn's team that got hurt in this one. You're looking at Chris Olave. It's the second, I think, concussion of the year, and Dr. Sam will probably tell us a little bit more about it. But he may not even come back this year. They're talking about like he may just
Yeah,
be put. And why would you? I mean, your team's not
right.
playing well. You just lost to the Carolina Panthers. Your team's not playing well. Why
Hmm.
bring back your basically best player in a sense?
Yeah,
They traded away Marshawn Lattimore today, so we'll get
yeah.
into that too. But
Hmm.
yeah, I wish the best for him, and he may not be coming back this year, so we'll see how that goes. But you're right, players underperforming for Glenn, and on Bob's side, Hurts and Barkley just keep keep just together, combining for insane points and really putting him at the top and being the top point scorer in our league so far. So nice one to you, Bob. Sorry, Glenn, you got hit with that, but you still put up a decent week and would have beat many of us, including myself, this week as well. So just kind
Yep.
of unlucky in that, but have some a couple good pieces out of it, hopefully. All right, next up, the final ass whooping, and I'll kind of say this almost is more like, I mean, Kyle barely outscored Glenn, and then he gives an ass whooping to Tyler, so it was really more of Tyler's team's ineptitude because outside of Hopkins, no one else really did anything for him. But what did you see that was a difference maker, maybe on Kyle's side?
Oh, on Kyle's side, I mean, Derrick Henry. I mean, that's,
Yeah,
I mean, uh, few things real quickly just to say on that, especially since it's Kyle that has him, right? How bad are the Dallas Cowboys that they didn't get him, right? I mean,
yeah,
everyone knew he wanted to go there. He lives there. He trains there in the off season. He made it public. He wanted to go there. Like, and now this season that he's putting up, it's like, oh, what a blunder. What a blunder you
yeah,
made.
yeah.
But that and quickly, I have to say, man, Tyler, just keep fighting. I know it's been a terrible 3 years. It is insane to me how much Tyler's teams have been injured. It is crazy.
Yeah,
So keep fighting, dude. I
or
I want to tell you
underperforming.
that it's not always like this, but
Yeah, he was on a roll there for a bit, and then yeah, his team kind of took another dip again, which is unfortunate because he was doing well, and I think it kind of rides in a sense on Brees Hall. I'll be honest, because Stroud's a great quarter. I love him as an NFL quarterback, but for fantasy, even last year when he had this huge rookie year, and everyone's talking about him like he was like the number 12 quarterback in fantasy football. So like it's not like he was super helpful to people. So Stroud is kind of me that middling kind of guy. I mean, he's Mahomes esque in that sense of two
mhm,
great players of the game, but
mhm.
that's just not how they win. But it's right on Brees
So
Hall, and we'll talk on that too because that's a part of what you've kind of manufactured in a trade. But hopefully for you guys, it's just like mixing it up and getting these guys back.
right, so I won't ruin it because we have a Trade Central thing coming up, but
Yeah.
Tyler's team is going to look a lot different.
Yes, it will. Both of your teams will look definitely different, and hopefully it does truly mix it up because Hopkins does well, but everyone else kind of shits the bed, and
Yeah,
that's just a tough one, especially when DeAndre Swift can't even get it going against the Cardinals, and he does well against lesser teams. So, um, unfortunately, he got a low point. I think he had the lowest score of the week if
yeah.
I'm not mistaken. So Kyle kind of got lucky in a sense because Kyle was about middling in that, but gave an ass whooping to him. But Kyle's got some good pieces, like you said. Derrick Henry is great. So and he's got some good wide receiver performances. I mean, his wide receivers ended up
Yeah,
combining for about 55 to 60 points. So
yeah.
good on that too, which is really nice for him to keep on to
Mhm.
that. But all right, we'll move on to the next game which not on a roll. So, Allison was she got a win last week, and this week, no W. Instead, Casey takes it this week against her. What did you see on either side that maybe made the difference here?
Well, Javante Williams. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
And unfortunately, he
Um,
was actually well, he was probably right in the
right,
middle with
right,
all the
right,
rest of her people. I mean, she got
right.
double digits for most players, but
Yeah.
not very
No, I
high double
mean,
digits.
I think a big thing is, getting 25 from Garrett Wilson was huge for him, right? Getting 20 from Rico Dowdle was,
Yeah.
I mean,
That,
that was lucky, and Jaden
yep.
Daniels performing. And he I don't know if he listens to the podcast, but when you said it on the last podcast, I was like, I traded him Terry McLaurin to put with Jaden Daniels, and he
Yeah.
hasn't even played him yet. Like, what's he doing? Like,
He
what?
played him a couple times, but he didn't play him in the week where I'm like, why don't well just keep playing it? Like the whole
Yeah,
point is
yeah,
they
yeah.
play together.
Absolutely.
They always play
Absolutely.
together. That's just
Absolutely. That was the whole reason I made the trade with you because it worked for you and worked for me. Like it was a
yeah.
good trade for you, to stack them up.
Yep. So good to
But
see
that's
him
it. And
do a
I
bit.
mean, I want to say that Allison's team underperformed, but man, I mean, if you look at the average, of the points, I mean, she just had two people really underperform real bad. That's about it, you know.
Yeah, and the others is just no boom. She just didn't get any booms from anybody, and I think that makes it tough. Whereas on Casey's side, Dowdle, got 10 points over his projection, and Garrett Wilson, is quietly one of the better wide receivers in fantasy football right now, and he's not getting talked about. But we'll look when we get to the matchups. But I want to say he's like a top five wide receiver in our league potentially, and you don't hear about him. Like you don't hear
Well,
anybody talking about Garrett Wilson.
I will explain that more, but he's probably going to be even better as the season goes on.
Yeah, I would think
I'll
so. I
explain
mean,
that more. It'll make sense what I'm saying when we talk about Trade Central.
got it. Sounds good. We'll hit that up. But yeah, so Casey takes it. Unfortunately, Allison takes another loss and not feeling hopeful right now. She needs to win out to have any sort of chance to get there at this point.
Mhm.
'Cause I think if she gets one more loss, it'll basically be too far out of reach for her to reach the playoffs at that point. But still has a chance. All right, next up we have two nail biters. I'm calling this nail biter because
It was a nail
yeah,
biter.
man. I mean, it was that last drive by
Yeah.
Baker, and it's funny because like I'm always in and out of sleep on that game. Like and so I woke up to that drive and I look at my phone, I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, okay, the projection is like right there where I'm just edging him out. And all I thought in my head was like, okay, I need Baker to have a turnover, and it's tough weather. I thought it could happen, but man, he made it happen on that drive. Um,
Mhm.
and I didn't like wasn't calculating at all, but I think once he had his run where he actually scrambled and got, I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm toast at that point. And I looked and I was like, yep. At that point, Andy had edged me out by a half a point. So I'm just rooting for an interception at that
Right.
at that point. But
Well,
that was
and
a nail
to
biter.
your point, you want to start pointing out one thing in each segment, right? The one thing is almost your quarterback play.
Yeah, I know he
It,
wanted to make. Yeah,
the difference between your quarterbacks, right? I mean, it's 8 points. You lost by 12. You know what I mean?
yep,
Like, if
yep.
Dak would have played the whole game, you might not lose this week. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
would say so because if you combine what Cooper Rush did with what Dak did, it actually puts it like right at that mark. And I'm not saying that's what would have happened,
right.
but it puts it
Nah, Cooper
very
Rush is
close.
better than Dak Prescott.
Cooper Rush is better. Dak wasn't looking bad. Like at some point, I mean, he was what like did he end like 14 for 16 or
Yeah,
16
yeah.
for
So it was
18 or
something.
something
Yeah,
like it? I mean, he was throwing okay. I
I
just
don't.
think,
I obviously don't really mean that, but it's
yeah,
hard to. Cooper Rush as a starter is undefeated.
he's not doing bad. He's actually not a bad
No,
backup.
he's actually a pretty solid overall quarterback, but I think it won't show this year because he had a running game, when they
Yeah.
were doing okay. So
But yeah, it was
yeah,
definitely that last. I mean, it came down to that last drive, and if the Bucks
yeah,
don't convert that, and
yeah,
if it gets stopped at some point,
yeah, it
then
killed you.
victory is on my side. But he converted it. It goes to overtime, and then at that point, I mean, it just was crushing me. Like at that point, it just
Yep,
turned it around. So nice job, Andy. But that really was a nail biter through Monday in that last drive. So that was pretty cool to be a part of for that. And now
right,
I don't have a backup quarterback for a while, and I was so. I mean, Dak still outscored Kyler, and Kyler played the whole game. So
right, right, right.
that was the right move. I mean, I made the right move in my mind of what to do.
Quickly, I just want to point out with me and you. Sorry, I know it's a recording, but how about Trey McBride? Zero receiving touchdowns all season, and now he has three rushing touchdowns.
So
What
weird.
what
Well,
are you guys doing with this man?
and as you saw on my text message of like screaming it aloud, like you ran a play that was perfectly ran to get him open for a touchdown. And what are you doing, Kyle? Like literally, the play is ran to do that. And instead of just throwing to the wide open Trey McBride in the end zone, because that wouldn't have separated me. I mean, that would have given him, we'll just say like 7 points or something more. So it's not like it does anything there. But
Right.
holy Jesus, I'm like, this man, like, this is why
Yeah.
I was trying to get off of Kyler. In all honesty, I'm like, I don't know about this guy and their offense and what they're trying to do. Because I also think
I've
that
been
offense, they want to run the ball more than they really want to pass it. I don't think they really
right.
want to pass as much
No.
as we
I've
think they
been telling
do.
you for years, man. Kyler's just not that good, man. He's just crazy athletic. That's what
Yeah.
he's a crazy athlete. That's that.
Yeah, and after this week, he won't be as high, but he was still like number six or number seven QB in our league. But
Yeah,
it's just very up and down, and yeah, it's so weird. It's just not
yeah.
loving it. So I thought trading for Dak, I felt like all I needed to pay him was a soggy McChicken, and you know, I knew Baker. So Andy was trying to trade me Baker. I had asked about Baker like a couple weeks ago, or maybe something like that, and Andy didn't want to trade him. And then he decided to reach out, but this is when I already had the Dak thing going, and I was like, well, no, I'm good. Like, I got this. Like, Dak cost me a lot less, I think, than he was going to try to charge me for Baker. So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, Baker's better, but I don't know. But yeah, now I'm like, we'll see. We'll see what happens now because I don't have Dak, and Dak might go on IR. But nice job, Andy. Way to take that one. But really, I want to get to this last one. I mean, high scoring affair, the number one nail biter. Literally, the last play of the week was the deciding factor in this game. And I agree with EJ. What a tough beat. You put up 131 and a half. You've done well. And then Kareem Hunt gets that final touchdown and to end the game.
So before we get into anything about what we saw, what was the score before the game started?
Oh, like how many did it was neck and neck. Like it was
Was it
121.
okay?
The projection was like
Okay,
121 to 120. It was very
right, because he
close.
had Mahomes. Right, right.
Yeah, so
Okay,
it was truly very close in projection. And what I will say is while the game was going on, is actually where it was separated. And then all of a
right,
sudden Louis is looking at like a 20-point projected deficit.
right,
And
right.
that's yeah. Then you got Kate Otten going off, Kareem Hunt doing, and Kareem Hunt wasn't performing well in the beginning of that game. He didn't have many points
Right.
until like the second half, and
Yeah.
then just went nuts,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously, my one thing to that. Oh, sorry. Oh, I don't know if that means that. Oh boy, let's look and see. We might have just got another trade accepted right in the middle of the
Oh,
podcast
okay.
here. Sorry. Sorry.
We'll talk about
Uh,
that here in a moment.
yeah. Kareem Hunt. Yeah. I mean, obviously, that's the one thing from this game. Was Kareem
Yep.
Hunt. Um,
Mahomes had his best game. I mean, had his best game of the season in this matchup. So that part's kind of tough, but I mean, Kareem
yeah.
Hunt, Kareem Hunt's second half is what won Louis this week because I knew Kate Otten was going to outperform his projection based on the lack of weapons they had.
Hmm.
But yeah, so but yeah, Kareem Hunt in the back end. That's what
Yeah.
got
Man. Yeah, that's
it.
crazy.
Well, I see it. I see it. Oh man. And I was
Hmm.
going to offer you a trade for that
Oh,
guy.
man.
Didn't get it in.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
We'll talk through it. Oh, we are doing lots of moving and shaking right now. Things going on in the middle of this podcast, folks. Things happening, live updates going
This is what
on.
happens at the trade deadline.
Yeah, exactly. But ultimately, EJ ends up with the W. I appreciate that because leading
Great
the East,
job,
I needed.
Lecho. Sorry, EJ. That's
Oh
a
yeah,
tough one.
Licho. Sorry, Louis. Louis, get it. I wanted EJ to win. I'll just be honest because like I need it. I was like, I need
Yeah. Yeah.
as much space. I knew this was not going to be a great week for me and what I had going out there. So I'm like, I need help from other people to try to keep some distance if I can. That would be great, but did not
Yeah.
happen. But EJ tried. He fought valiantly. And
Yeah.
now EJ's looking at it like, man, I score this much, I still can't get a W. So
Right.
that's
It's
rough.
tough. It's tough.
But nice job, everybody, on this week. If you got a W, congrats. If you took the L, everyone is still up into the playoff hunt. So even down to Allison, she's still in the playoff hunt. She just got to win out. So we'll talk on that later in this episode. But we do got to find out about some injuries. And before we do that, we got sponsors to take care of, right? We got to get this man paid for all the time that he's putting in. This week's sponsor is Kyle's McChicken and Lemonade Stand. So last year, Kyle started his business with something basic, simple, and ultimately fuck up free by selling pink lemonade. This year, his confidence is higher, and he's decided to add McChicken sandwiches. Although they seem easy, McChickens are tough to serve crispy and hot. I can tell you from experience, Kyle serves super soggy McChickens that will make your gut hurt and have you on the toilet uh, basically as soon as you hear Kyle's name. Um, and only an hour after ingesting these McChickens will you ultimately feel the pain that Kyle has delivered to you. He still sells top-notch pink lemonade, though, so stop on by for that and be weary of Kyle's soggy McChickens. Well, thank you, Kyle, for your soggy McChicken to me. I appreciate it. I will not be tasting that soggy McChicken for probably a few weeks now, unfortunately. Um, but until we get into trade discussion of what's gone on in Zach's world, let's find out from Dr. Sam maybe some injuries that we might have. Dr. Sam.
All right, injury report for week 9. Pretty light overall. AJ Brown, wide receiver for the Eagles. Looks like his MRI came back clean, so probably just a bone bruise for him, so he'll likely suit up for week 10. CD Lamb, wide receiver for the Cowboys, had an AC sprain, was able to come back in late in the game for that 2-point try. So likely he'll rest, but be able to play with like a small production dip. Just kind of depends on if he lands on that shoulder. Dak Prescott, quarterback for the Cowboys, has a hamstring injury. He's likely to miss a few weeks, if not even put on the IR, but I think they're still waiting for MRI results on that. Drake London, wide receiver for the Falcons. I think he left the game with like a hip pointer, but I don't think it's anything more serious than that, so he'll likely be able to suit back up for next week with a potential little dip in production. Chris Olave, wide receiver for the Saints. He's likely going to be out for a week or at least probably 2 with with a history of multi concussions, and especially too, this one looks kind of bad. So he'll probably be out at least minimum 1 week, but they may hold him out for another one because of his history. Keon Coleman, wide receiver for the Bills. He kind of fell on his arm, so he has like an undisclosed wrist/arm injury. There's a potential for a fracture, but I don't think they've released any of the findings yet for the X-ray or the MRI. Jalen McMillan, wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Bucks, missed the game last night with the hamstrings. There's potential for another week, but that's one. You just check the practice reports and see. Zach Moss, running back for the Bengals, has a neck injury, and it looks like latest report is he's going to be done for the regular season. They're going to evaluate him in 2 months. And then Caleb Williams, quarterback for the Bears, looks like he has a mild ankle sprain, so he'll probably end up going next week. Potential dip in his rushing productivity.
Well, shit, that's all that man does, anyways, is run around. I swear to goodness.
Real quick, before we jump to anything else, especially
Yeah.
since he mentioned that last and you said that, did you see the play where DJ Moore walked off the field while Caleb Williams was scrambling?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not good. That's not good.
Yeah, I don't
That's not.
know. So what I will say is like DJ Moore this year has just come off as this prima donna motherfucker that is just being, yeah, and I don't know what goes on in the locker
And
room,
and what's
but
weird about that, right? I agree. What's weird about that is he was not that way in Carolina when he had terrible
nope,
play.
he was not that way with Justin Fields.
No,
So there must be
nope.
something in a sense from the Caleb side, maybe. I don't
I'm
know.
I'm thinking
You,
so.
you
And
think
just
so?
remember, everybody, Caleb
Yeah.
Williams. I said Caleb Williams is not the answer.
Oh, I said the same. I just I haven't. Here's what I'll say. He doesn't. He looks like he should have the ability to do this. That's what I'll say. Like he evades pressure and stuff. But I saw like a quote from Merrill Hodge, who was basically talking like, and it was from back during like the NFL draft time, and he ultimately said like this guy, like he basically described him to a T as to what's happened, which is he will make like these great looking plays, but he doesn't really know how to quarterback. he doesn't really know how to stay in the pocket and do this stuff and deliver a ball and do these things. He just like kind of runs around like he does and just does this. And I think that's where DJ Moore's at. DJ Moore is probably at this point of like, F this, I'm tired of it. But you can't quit
Yeah.
on your team. And even though they mentioned he
Yeah.
stepped out of bounds and so he can't be the first one to catch it, no, you can't. But you can still go like block for players that did catch it,
Right. Yeah.
like you can do some other things. But he looks
Yeah.
definitely dejected and not wanting to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Last
Well,
thing I'll say,
I watched an hour-long thing on like the underdevelopment of young quarterbacks in the NFL now.
yeah.
And I think that's real. I really
Oh
do.
yeah.
If you look at it, like look at the history of the NFL, yeah, I mean, you're thrown into starting now. You're drafted number one, number two, top 10, whatever. You're projected to start, and you're projected to be. They want everybody to be Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that might be a real thing. I think there's a lot of underdevelopment happening because look at Green Bay's a great example. You know what I mean? They went from Brett Favre, had Aaron Rodgers behind him for years, got to watch and learn, and then started, and he was
Yep.
phenomenal. And now they're doing the same thing with Jordan Love, and minus him being injured here and there early, he's been phenomenal most of the time when he plays.
Yep.
So, I think there's a development problem in the NFL.
There
And
definitely is, and they like I think they're talking it's like tied to rookie contracts. They don't want to pay the
right,
money it costs to have some of these guys, and so therefore they want to try to get what they can out of these rookie contracts, out of these guys and whatnot. And it's really unfortunate because
yeah,
you are seeing that a lot with players.
yeah,
So yes, I agree with you. Like it is sad what they're doing to a lot of young guys, and a lot of guys will be out of the league because they supposedly can't play, and yet
right,
you're seeing a Sam Darnold and people like that who are Baker Mayfield and other players that you're seeing like no, they can play. Like they just
yeah,
needed time to
yeah,
learn this game. So
yeah,
yeah, it's very very interesting.
yeah.
Well, I mean, let's move on to Trade Central, man. We got a couple of trades to talk about here. The one that happened prior to this podcast starting is right here. Here, I'll put us there. So here's you're involved in both the trades, so we'll read this one off first. Hold on one second. Yeah. Oh, there she is for her weekly appearance.
Hi,
Yeah.
sweetie. How are you?
Hi. Good.
Oh, good.
No. What did
How's
you
school
eat?
going?
Good.
Good. I miss
Good.
you.
Me, me too.
Yeah, you must go in there. I know.
Yeah,
And I don't know when we're going to be able to see you all. Honestly, it might be mid to end of January based
right.
on my schedule. That's when they're giving me more time to actually
Yeah,
have off from the bakery. But
right.
otherwise, like it'll be literally getting the holiday off like that day and back to work the next day kind of
Yeah.
deal. So
Well,
we'll see how that.
maybe we can make time to come up and see you guys or something.
And yeah, we'll see. But I'll keep you all updated on where that's at and where it's going. Your belly
Uh,
feels full, young lady. Did you eat?
Yeah.
What'd you have?
What'd you
Um,
have?
I had ice cream for my treat.
Oh, you had some ice cream.
Shit, ice cream. Wow. Okay.
Nice. Which ice
Okay.
cream?
The party animals.
Party animals. Okay.
Yummy.
That sounds good.
Yummy.
Yeah. What's party animals? What color?
Like all different colors.
Oh, okay. 'Cause they're
So
party
it's like a
animals.
rainbow color or a
Yeah.
rainbow ice cream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds delicious.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, love.
And the
And
ice cream is even pink.
with like sprinkles
Ooh,
and stuff, I think, right?
pretty.
No. No.
Like sprinkles.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, can you say bye, to Uncle Zach?
Bye, Uncle Zach.
I love
I
you.
love you.
Love you.
Oh, both that so the dogs don't come in either. Okay. Back to your trade. So first, talk through this one.
Well, before I talk through it, let me say this for whoever does watch these, okay? one thing that I would like to tell everybody is when you're looking at trades, one thing you definitely want to look at is like look at the upcoming schedule, right? That's a
Yep.
big thing that I don't know if many people are looking at, right? You're just looking, you could just be looking at, what that person's averaging and this, that, and the other, right?
Yep.
Where like, so this is why I'm saying this, okay? I'll give you my thought process behind this trade, okay? Because on the outside looking in, this probably looks bad on my part that I did this trade. Well, to me, I want to have Brees Hall for this end run because of their matchups. They
Sure.
have great matchups. So, like, what I mean by that is their defenses that they're playing are
Yep.
not great
Yep.
defenses, right? Where, say, for instance, I don't remember, I think maybe Jonathan Taylor has a tougher schedule, right, against some other defenses that are a little bit tougher. So,
Yep.
that's where I was looking there. Now, also, I did the Amari Cooper thing just to pair him with Josh Allen. Like,
Yep.
that was kind of my thought process behind it. It's more of a hope that Amari Cooper kind of comes on a little bit. Um, Again, everyone has probably, if you've paid attention to my team, I've been depleted at wide receiver. I all season. I've said it from week one. My receivers were not fantastic. Um, I got lucky with Godwin
Yeah, and then unlucky.
being the number one guy for multiple weeks, but
Yep.
you know how I felt about it. I wasn't overly excited about him. So, and again, I feel like trading him Devontae Adams helps him
Yep.
because, like I just said, the Jets have a favorable schedule. So this I feel like was also kind of helping Tyler. Like we text between each other, and I
Yeah.
told I told him the truth is like I was trying to help both of us. I really was with this trade.
Yeah, I think
Like
so. Like I
I
agree.
don't want to see him dwindle down and be to nothing, right? And
Yep.
I'm trying to improve mine as well. So, and for those that don't know, the Jordan Mason thing, sure, I understand Christian McCaffrey's coming back. Jordan Mason's going to get play.
Yeah,
He'll
especially in
play.
the beginning part. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm gonna play CMC this week if he
Oh, for
plays. You
sure.
gotta
You
play
got
him,
to play him. Yeah.
but
Yeah. You
you gotta
got to play.
expect that it's gonna take a bit to ramp him up again and get him like kind of going. So but no, I agree. I think both it helps both sides. You pair up Amari Cooper with your quarterback and Brees Hall and Jonathan Taylor. Like to me, it's kind of been a toss up. Like Brees Hall hasn't performed as well as you'd hope at times either, and so it's just kind of like to me a good mix up and remixing everything. And
Exactly.
Devontae Adams you're hoping stays healthy, but if he can, he's with Aaron Rodgers, so hopefully that goes well. So I think it does help both sides. But then you made another trade and you got Khalil Shakir, also a Buffalo wide receiver, and traded away Cedric Tillman and Jalen Waddle, and you did it with Andy. So
Yeah.
explain that side of the trade or that trade. So you got Khalil Shakir, another Buffalo wide receiver, and then he gets Jalen Waddle and Cedric Tillman.
Yeah. So this trade I did not love. I'm going to be honest, just to be honest, but I did offer it.
Yeah,
Um, Number one, I offered it in the hopes that, uh, or in the thought that Tyler wasn't going to accept this trade.
yeah.
So there's that number one, because I know people are probably going to be like, well, wait a second. So you have Josh Allen, James Cook, Amari.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't understand why you have so many.
So here's the thing. I'm going to try to get another trade out somehow and work something else, right?
Got it.
But my biggest thing, and I I feel like it was a good trade, but I did not want Jalen Waddle. I don't want Jalen Waddle. Now that's risky because Tua's back now. So
Yeah.
of course this is probably going to be right when Jalen Waddle starts playing great, of course. But I did not want Jalen Waddle. I've been trying to trade Jalen Waddle. Anyone that has seen trades from me, he has been in the trade.
I
So
was gonna offer you a trade for Jalen Waddle, but now I can't. So there it
yeah,
goes. Now
well,
I can't. I would have given you
yeah.
more than Khalil Shakir probably. I
You
just think
say that.
I
I was shocked at Khalil Shakir. He's I think 24th or even higher.
he's not bad. I just think it's odd that you have now multiple Buffalo wide receivers, and I think it's always tough to play it because then you're
It
basically
is.
half of your team is Buffalo then. So if you're starting
Correct.
all these guys, half your
Yes,
team is the Buffalo Bills. Now
you are right.
they're a good offense, so that's the good part about it.
Right.
But sometimes you
Right.
really want a little bit more diversity. And I think you
I
kind of
do. Nor I would never suggest nor normally do this ever.
yeah.
Like this was
Like I
kind
think
of
you
an
could have gotten
accident.
Shakir for one of those guys, not both of them,
Right. Right.
in my mind.
Right. Right.
But that's
Right.
where but I get it. Like you said, when you're doing it, you're not thinking about this other trade and like you don't know
Right.
which one's going to go through.
And again, I really am trying to like shake things
Shake
up.
it
Like
up.
I
Yep.
mean,
Shake it
I
up, man.
I'm 4-5. You know what I mean? Like I am in the middle of the road.
You're in the mix. Yeah.
You know, I'm either start winning or start losing at this point, right? Like what?
Well, shit. Now you're going to be on the waiver wire. I know that. So maybe you want to leave the waiver wire talk to me so you don't give up your secrets. To the
I'll
fact that
give
you're going
you
to
a
go.
couple. I'll give you some hints.
Oh, I already know you're going to go who you're going to go for. And unfortunately, you're in front of me, so I won't be able to get him. I already know at least one of the players, but we'll get into that. I think there's, interestingly enough, because of injury, there is some options out there for wide receiver, especially. I think, but
Right. So
we'll get into
real
that.
quick before we jump off Trade Central, because it sounds like you're trying to move on.
Yep.
The point that I want everybody to understand too is, if you're 1-8 or 3-6 or 4-5, probably
Yeah.
should maybe think about shaking something up. Now,
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
got to
if
do
you love your
something.
team, you love your team. Like, for example, like EJ, I don't know that I'd change a whole lot because I like his team a lot. And
Yep.
he's scoring points. Like, again, this week, he just ran up against a bad matchup,
Yep.
so maybe a team like that. But, there's a few of us, I tried to trade with Glenn. He's in the dumps. I tried to trade with Allison a couple times. She's in the dumps. I tried to trade with Tyler. I mean, it's, at the
Yeah.
time, I think my trade with Casey, he wasn't doing extremely great. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're not doing well, there's no point in keeping on hanging on if you don't want to.
Nope.
You can try to change something. Now, I understand if you don't want to.
But I'm
Like
with
to
you.
that point, I tried to make a trade to Kyle that I thought was extremely fair, and he was like, "No, absolutely not." So,
Yeah. No, and dude, even myself, I'm at the top, and yet I want to make a trade. I have no depth. Like I look at my team, I'm like, you remember, I remember you last year. That was your biggest thing. Your last year, this year, and talking about like, I love my starters, but my depth isn't there, and that's how I feel right now. I'm like,
yep,
oh, if I get hurt, man, it's gonna be rough. Gonna
yep,
be very rough.
yep.
But today was the trade deadline for the NFL, and there were a few offensive trades made, but also a lot more defensive trades that were made that I think impact defenses too. So I'm going to run through some of these and would love to
Mm-hmm.
get maybe some of your thoughts on them. So Cowboys traded for Jonathan Mingo from the Carolina Panthers. Does that move you
Trash.
in? Huh? You say
Whoa,
pass?
I
Oh,
said trash.
trash. Yeah.
What just
Okay.
happened there? I
So
can't
there you
see.
go. Jonathan Mingo wasn't doing anything for Carolina. Who knows if he'll do anything for the Cowboys? Who knows? But that one, I'm with you. I'm like, meh. Like, I'd rather have the Jalen Tolbert on that side. I'd rather have Brandon Cooks when he comes back. You'd rather have some of these guys rather than a
Yeah.
Jonathan Mingo. Next one, Khalil Herbert to the Bengals. What's
I
your
think
thought
that's all
there?
right. I mean, with Zach Moss being out, sure, it's okay.
Right. That's where I go with it. Because Zach Moss is out, I like being from Chicago, we see a lot of Khalil Herbert. He's a good running back. It's a solid running back. He's nothing great. I think it's a good combo pairing with Chase Brown because they're two different style of runners.
Yeah.
And so I do think it works out for the Bengals in general, and I do think he will have value. So if I'm in need of a running back, I really would take a stab at Khalil Herbert. What do you got to lose in that one? I think that leaves gives him value, and he is on our in our waivers. But that's the
Mhm.
move I liked to say that has some impact. Jonathan Mingo, I don't think does. Um, but now, what about Mike Williams to the Steelers? So Mike Williams gets traded from the Jets to the Steelers. Yeah, that's for everybody out there. If you're just listening, that's him shaking his head, closing his eyes, and I agree. I'm
I'm
like,
not disconnected. Let's just say that.
yeah, it's just. maybe it
Good
helps pick.
luck. If he's healthy, great.
He'll be a distraction and maybe help Pickens out more by getting people to go over to
He
cover Mike
might open the
Williams.
field more from him being covered. Yeah,
Right, that's about it. I would not
right.
go after a Mike Williams. So those are the offensive players. Defensive players, there were a few big time moves in a sense for defenses. So he hasn't been as good as he once was. Tre'Davious White was once a really great cornerback for the Buffalo Bills. What, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, was one of the top like shutdown corners in the NFL. He's since moved on to the Rams, and then has just been a problem. He's a head case, and but still a good, really good player. Well, he gets traded to the Baltimore Ravens to help them out in their defensive backfield. So hopefully that maybe helps their defense on that side. An area of opportunity for them is the passing game. They got to be able to cover it, and they've had a lot of injuries that have hurt
So
them for
here's what I'll
that.
say about that. I don't love Tre'Davious White, but I think he improves that defense.
Yeah, and that's the point. Is I think he will definitely help them out,
Yeah.
and he will have to pass on them because the Ravens are scoring like crazy, and therefore people have to try to keep up. So I think that's a big one. The other cornerback that moved on was Marshawn Lattimore, got traded to the Washington Commanders. He's another guy who is really good shutdown corner if he's healthy. He's had some health issues in general, but he should help that defense out in their defensive backfield as well.
That's
So
my
another,
second favorite move.
yeah. What was your
I
first favorite
love,
move?
oh, I love that move.
What was your number one? What was your favorite move?
The Detroit Lions
Oh, getting the linebacker.
getting Zaire. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh man. That's huge.
Yeah, they needed an edge
That's
rusher there.
boy, they might win the Super Bowl, maybe. I
Oh
don't want
yeah.
to I don't want to put all this pressure on them because it's Detroit, but man, they look good. And adding him just made it. Oh wow.
Yeah, he's
Wow.
veteran presence coming from the Browns as an edge rusher, pass rusher that's gonna basically take over for Hutchinson. They're hoping like you can't replace Hutchinson. I mean, he was on the pace for defensive player of the year. But they do at least get another solid defensive lineman, another solid pass rusher in there. But yeah, Marshawn Lattimore is going to help out that Commanders defense that has gotten better as the year has gone on. So
Yeah.
I like that move a lot for them. And then you had Preston Smith, so he's another edge rusher. He goes to the Steelers to maybe help out them some more. I mean, they already have Highsmith and T.J. Watt, and they're adding Preston Smith from the Packers to help them and their defensive line. So that just helps that defense even more now. And then Baron Browning, so he's a pass rusher that went to the Cardinals. And Arizona Cardinals actually are starting to play better defense than they once were, and that could help them. They're first place in their division technically, so they're trying to
Mhm.
get to the playoffs as well. So a few defenses that have been improved upon. I would say go after Commanders. And it's funny in one league, and this is a different one. I have the Ravens and the Commanders as my defenses. So I was like,
Nice.
yes, okay, we got some more help for these guys because I was thinking about moving on from them, but now I'm like, maybe I'll stick around. We'll
Yeah.
see. But but yeah, so that's some of the trade stuff that's happened in the NFL after from the trade deadline, which is now done. So there are no more trades in the works, but that's kind of what happened so far. So that leads us into the waiver wire, what to do's. No quarterbacks were traded, but Russell Wilson got another crappy wide receiver to throw to, so maybe it helps him. I don't know. But anybody on this list, if you're in need of a quarterback, maybe somebody sold you a soggy McChicken, and you need need to pick up a quarterback. Anybody on here you would recommend to a friend?
So two, number
Okay.
one, I'm going to probably surprise you with this, but for just this week, I would say Daniel Jones against Carolina for
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
is a good pick. Okay. And then two, I was kind of shocked to see this. I understand that he's whatever 16th, but Jared Goff, I mean, say what you will. No, he's probably not going to put up any 40-point games, but he is going to basically get you 20 points a game.
Yeah, he's been interesting. That was an interesting drop, but it's almost felt like he's felt like Mahomes this year because they haven't had to throw,
Right. Right.
right? And so it's very Mahomes-esque. And so I can
Yes.
see it. Fantasy football is different than regular football. I like Jared Goff, I think we'll see how Russell Wilson does against that Washington defense. I mean, they're getting better, so who knows what's going to happen there. But I would agree. There's a few players on here. I've even liked what I've seen from Drake May. I don't like it against Chicago's defense. I think they have a good defense, but
Yeah.
Drake May has looked like surprisingly well for a guy did not. I didn't. I just didn't think he was going to work out as well.
Yeah.
I'd
He's
seen
not been bad.
no, I'd seen Trubisky before and stuff, and I literally was like, he's just Trubisky again. That's what's going to happen. But
Yeah.
no, he like looks like legit out there as a guy that can play some football. So
Yeah.
just throwing him out there as a guy I like, but I don't know if I like their team is just kind of tough, and that
Yeah.
offensive line's not great. But some good options that you threw out there. So I like what you've done there. All right, next up we have some running backs. Anybody on here? I mean, there's no real starters, but I mentioned Khalil Herbert getting traded, so now he's vaulted up to the top here, or near the top. Anybody on here that you like?
Um, yeah, you guys have went over this like the last three
I
podcasts.
know we can't. There's just
Um,
it's pick your
so
backup.
so
That's
here's so here's what I will say. Tyler,
Ty Chandler.
you,
Oh,
you better go get Trey Sermon. Just have him. Just
yep,
take a spot up on your bench. It doesn't
yep,
matter. You want him. Aside from that, I don't even know what backup you would take here. You could take the shot on Khalil Herbert, sure. But like I said, I think with Chase Brown being there, he's looked good. He knows the system. I think Chase
yeah,
Brown will get a bulk of the carry.
yep.
Um,
This week definitely Khalil's not doing shit because it's a Thursday night game also. So you just traded him. They play
yeah,
Thursday night. Don't expect
yeah,
anything this week
no,
from that man.
no. And like I said, or like you said, sorry, take a backup if you have them. I mean, I
Now's the
have,
time.
again, that was another reason I did the Brees Hall thing real quick on this note is that now I have Brees Hall and Braylon Allen,
Yep.
and I
Yep.
have James Cook and Ray Davis.
Yep.
So my two running backs, I have their backups.
Yep. And I think that's a good move.
Yeah.
And on here, I mean, Cam Akers, so it's no longer Ty Chandler. If you're holding on to Ty Chandler, anybody out there, he is not. They literally have basically moved on, and they traded for Cam Akers a couple weeks ago from Houston, and they've just put him right in as the backup. They don't like what they're seeing from Ty Chandler, and I have him in another league, and I'm not having to move on. Like I'm just like, okay, well now I got to pick up Cam Akers or somebody instead. And then I would say Khalil Herbert for future purposes, just because I think he will get worked into the offense as a first and second down kind of guy. He's not a
Mhm.
pass catcher. That's not what he does, but he is a nice little running back piece that'll play off of Chase Brown. So I think he has future value, but it's not going to be this week. And we'll see what it might be down the road by the time maybe playoffs come around for fantasy football. He might be more relevant at that point. But yeah,
Yeah.
otherwise, pick your backup. I don't know which one to tell you. So
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
leave it at that.
Slim Pickens.
Yep. All right, next up we have wide receivers. There's a thin list here. They literally are thin. Like I got players that are very thinned out because I think there's a lot of wide receiver depth on here to go after or kind of pick your poison again. Um, with I'm just gonna say at the very top, Quentin Johnston. I think you got to go for him if you're looking for a wide receiver. I'll be putting my waiver claim in. I'm sure others will be too. You kind of have to. But outside
You
of
will not.
Quentin,
You will not be getting Quentin
correct. I
Johnston.
already know it. I already so no point. But outside of him, there's some others on here that I think have value. Anybody here that you might be looking at with
So
potential?
I'm only going to give you answers that I think have the possibility of being booms. Okay,
Yes,
because
agreed.
that's really what you're
Agreed.
looking for.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
Gabe Davis, and that's just a boom player. That's it, because he is either going to get you 1 or 2 points, or he's going to get you 25 or 30. There's
Yep.
probably never going to be a 10 to 15 point game ever.
Nope. Nope.
And then I will probably surprise you here, but Noah Brown is kind of coming on.
Yep.
And I like Noah Brown. I didn't even know that he was in Washington.
You didn't know that?
No, I did not. Until like 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh, okay. I did not know that he wasn't with Dallas anymore. So
Yeah.
Noah Brown would be another one. Ray McLeod has had such these weird spurts,
Yep.
so he's another one. Now
That
that's
one's
about
based
as
on Drake
far.
London, I think, too. If Drake London plays, I'm not looking to get Ray McLeod. But if
Yeah,
Drake London's not there, I think you do got to look at Ray McLeod because he will get more work at that point.
right, right. Now as far as the rest go, I'm with you. Yes, there's a little bit of play there with a lot of these guys. What is it? Ah, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. MVS. That's about, New Orleans
Nope.
doesn't have a whole lot,
They
like,
don't with now their top two receivers are out, so
right.
somebody's
So
got to step up.
maybe he steps up and gets some kind of play. Darius Slayton has shown he's good,
Yeah, I
but
like Darius Slayton. I put him up there. And Demarcus
yeah,
Robinson at the very bottom. There's a reason I put him
yeah,
there. Like he's had a couple big weeks lately, and I know Puka's back and stuff, but who knows what's happening with that? And I almost feel like Robinson has played better when those guys are there.
yeah, yep, yep,
So a lot of options on here, I think, if you're looking for wide receiver depth.
yep,
So I know I'm going to look at some of these options myself just because I need it. I really
yep,
do. I've just got players that I'm not as trusting with at this point.
yep,
And to your point, I like that you said go for guys with boom potential. There's no, I mean, you're not going to find that consistent 10 to 12 point guy on this list. That's not what this list is anymore. It is go for guys that can put some big weeks up. And Quentin Johnson will definitely be a guy I won't get because others will get him,
right,
but he's on that list, and others kind of follow him with that. So good
yeah.
calls there. And really, that leads us into tight ends, and I think the same kind of deal, man. We have some tight ends on here that could really work out for some people. Anybody in particular that you're interested in or that you would go for if you're in need of a tight end?
So I'm not going to take them, and I hated doing it, but I felt like it was the play. John New Smith all day. Again, I
Yeah,
did not love dropping him at all. I really didn't. And not that he's a stud or anything, but I Alvin Kamara's been questionable. They lost all their wide receivers, so I wanted Taysom Hill on my bench. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
But and then
That
Mike
was, and he had a
Gesicki,
huge game. That was a good
yeah,
move.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And then Mike Gesicki, oh, trust me, the Taysom Hill thing made me so mad because I was going to play Taysom Hill over Kyle Pitts this week. And I was like, no, I just can't do it. Like Kyle Pitts is the number 5 guy. He's had great weeks. Like, I can't
Yeah,
do it. And I mean, it wouldn't have mattered because I got my butt whooped, but I should have because it was a huge point difference.
yeah.
But anyways, Gasecki, man, he's looking good. I don't know where this came from, but I mean, he's looking like a starting tight end. You know what I mean?
Yep. Basically, well, Eric All Jr. is now on IR with a
Yep.
torn ACL. He is done. So
Yeah.
Gasicki takes over pretty much even more snaps. Interestingly enough, for what Gasicki did, he played less than 40% of snaps in that game.
Yeah.
He played like 36% of snaps, but he's getting the
Yeah.
ball thrown to him because with T. Higgins out and
Yep.
then now Eric All out, I think Gasicki's like I would take him over Janu right now just because of those factors. But
Sure.
Janu, you're right. He's getting a lot of the short stuff because that seems to be what they're trying to do with Tua is not they're trying to get the ball out of Tua's hands. They don't want
Yep.
what happened to him to happen to him. So that's a
Yep.
big thing. But Theo Johnson for the Giants got his first touchdown catch of the year, and he's starting to heat up and become a part of that offense. And they need somebody else besides Neighbors, but they have a few things going. Jawan Johnson, if you want consistency, this man has put up consistently like 7-ish points. You can't. I don't golf at that when it comes to tight end. Yeah, I love a
No.
boom guy, but with what's going
Sure.
on, it's like they got no one else to throw to. Even with
Mhm.
Taysom Hill as your tight end, Taysom Hill is their all encompassing guy. He's not the
Yeah.
tight
Yeah.
end. Jawan
No.
Johnson, Jawan becomes in my mind their number one target on offense
Yeah.
now. Like who else is
Yeah.
going? I mean, so I like that. And then even Jatavian Sanders has started to come. come out a little bit from Carolina, so I put threw him on the bottom there. But a lot of good tight end options if you're in need of one, maybe
Yep.
for a bye week or something like that. So,
I agree.
and another thing that I will say, also look ahead to what you got coming up. I know I am. Like I got to look ahead to what's coming up for bye weeks because we're starting to get
Yep.
to that point where you might have players on next. So it's not this week, but maybe it's week 11, maybe it's week 12 or week
Yep.
14. Those are some big bye weeks coming up. Maybe try
Yep.
to get ahead of the game a bit, take a look at what their matchups are, and see if this might be, hey, now I'm going to stash this person, so that way someone doesn't
Oh,
take them
to your
previously.
point, if I don't make any moves at all, I've got, I think in 2 weeks Buffalo's on bye, so I'll have
Yeah, hopefully I
five
play you.
people.
I hope I
I'll
play
have
you
five
then.
people I won't even be able to play.
I hope I play you at that point. So
Yeah, we'll
I'm
figure
with you though.
something.
Week 14 is a tough one for me. I think week 11 is a tough one for me. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, I forget what week it is. It might be week 12 for me. Maybe
I
I
think it is
forget.
week 12 for Buffalo. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, look ahead to those things and start to try to get those handled for yourself. All right. Well, we moved Trade Central out of the way, so now it's Javante watch. He got 11.8 this week, so he went up a tenth of a point. He's still at running back 30. And I think they're going to potentially put Audric Estime in more. I don't know. Estime keeps fumbling the ball, so I don't know why you'd also do that. It's very weird to me, Zach, because they're also not giving Jaleel much run. So it's obvious that Jaleel is not in favor, and they're trying to get like they're giving it to Javante. I mean, they're still rolling with the guy, but it ain't going like we'd hope. If he stays at this 12 mark, it's not going to hit my mark. So I'll owe you $10 at that point. We'll take it off your league fees for next year.
Nah. So as you said, we haven't talked about this. We can wrap this up real quick. You don't owe me anything because we did agree to 15 games being healthy, and that's clearly not happening. So you don't owe me
Well,
anything, but
well, but you were right.
I was right. But
You
I
were
was.
right. Yeah, you're right because Baker looks a lot better than I think anybody ever thought.
Man, I'm
He's
trying to tell you, it makes me pissed that you know this. Me and you talked about this, whatever, 2 years ago. I wanted Baker in Indianapolis. We should.
yeah, yeah,
I wanted Baker Mayfield.
yeah, and that would have been nice, and that would have
Oh,
worked out.
and he's cheap. We could have built a team around him because he isn't the quarterback that needs $230 million.
He's also a good fucking dude and a good
Yeah.
leader. Like that's how I look at
Yes.
it too. Like you gotta look at
Yes.
like he brings something of like he brings like a
I think
quiet
he just got.
confidence.
I think he just got such a bad rap in Cleveland, dude. I
Yeah.
think that's just what happened.
Yep. And then he goes other places and he shows he can still play. So
Yep.
I'm happy for him that he's in a spot. And
Yep.
even last night, man, I mean, they took the Chiefs to overtime in Kansas City with
With
no
no
Mike
Godwin
Evans,
and no Mike
no Chris
Evans.
Godwin, no Jalen McMillan, who was supposed to be your number three. So their top three wideouts all gone.
Yep.
And I mean, that's just crazy. Like, and
Yep.
that shows what Baker can do. And that last drive, while I lost because of it, that was fun to watch. Like, it was fun to
Sure.
watch him deliver balls to these guys. These guys are playing for him. Like, I just enjoy watching that team, and I'm happy for them. Like, I hope
Yeah.
they got to be first in that division because
The
it's
Bucks,
well, I guess it's between them and the
Atlanta,
Falcons.
Atlanta.
It's Atlanta. I hope the Bucks take it. I mean, I like Atlanta's. I mean, Kirk Cousins is doing some good stuff and gotten better too. But yeah, it's like I hope the best for that guy.
Yeah.
So go Baker, go
Yep.
Baker. All right, comment of the week. I'm putting the Blippy Fireball video on here. I usually don't give myself credit for that, but that was a good one. I thought that was pretty funny to do that to Louis. I hope Louis saw it. I think he did. I don't
You had
know,
me
but
cracking up. I was dying laughing.
Allison did a great job. Like she was all for it too. So I think that just worked out real well. And I didn't even do it right. I can't like flick my tongue out and like
Right.
on it. Allison
Right.
was the one doing it correctly. She even told me afterwards, like, you weren't doing it. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that was that
It
was a
was
good one.
funny. It was good.
Always good comments out there, but that's the comment of the week this week. Hope that video does not get put out into the ether. Let's just hope it stays within the FFFL. All right. Now we're going into where we're at this point in the season. We have 5 more weeks of the regular season. So we are through 9 so far. And here's where we stand. So in the East, we have I'm still at the top there, but I did take the L this week, but at 7-2. Louis with the W moves 1 game behind me, so there's only 1 game back. And then we have you and Kyle right there at 4-5, Glenn at 3-6, and then Allison at the bottom at 1-8, but still has 2% chance of making the playoffs. Don't give up, Allison. There are still chances there. And then in the West, you have Sam, who's still at the top at 7-2. Two teams at 6-3 with Bob and Casey there, and then EJ behind them at 4-5, and then a couple guys at 3-6, which is Andy and Tyler. Going to stats here. Bob leads our league in points. So Bob, he is the only one over the 1,100 mark, and he's approaching 1,200. So he is over 100 points higher than the next closest person, which would be me at 1066. That's a lot of points to be ahead. What that ultimately means, people, is that he is per week 11 to 12 points better than the next highest person per week. Like that's crazy. Like that's a lot of points to be ahead. So while you see it in this over and like all encompassing total, take a look at yours, and that means this is how much you buy every week. And he just had
Just for
some tough
everybody's
losses.
just for everybody's knowledge, I'm 4-5 in my other league that Greg and Allison are in with me, and
Oh God.
I have 200 more points than the next closest person.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know how you're 4-5.
It's
That's a
insane.
yeah.
It's
Hey, I'm
crazy.
finally not last. I'm finally not last in that.
Yeah, yeah, whatever,
I think I'm
whatever.
so you're 4-5 and that high up, and I'm 3-6. I'm technically 1 game behind you. Then I
Yeah.
technically, I
Oh yeah.
guess.
And I'm gonna smoke everybody in points. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm gonna smoke
you
everybody.
keep doing it every week. Yeah,
I'm
every
gonna be
week.
300 to 400 points above everyone at the end of the season. Like, are you kidding me?
Well, one day I'll choose the right lineup. I mean, someday. I don't know, like one day DJ Moore won't walk off the field. He walked off my team. That's what I've said. I've said no more DJ Moore, the bastard. But anyways, uh, but yeah. So we have Bob who's leading everybody in points. Louis, who continues to lead everybody in transactions, and Bob's right there behind him though at 20. So Bob has moved up the board on that. And Tyler and Casey are at the bottom of transactions, only 4 transactions each. What I would tell you, Tyler, is you need to make more of them. When you're that low, just make, dude. If somebody's not working, pick up somebody else. You just never know what's going to happen. So, do some research on that. But another thing I like to look at is the streak. Bob is on a 4 game winning streak as he should be. So Bob is whooping up, but no one else really. I mean, it's 1 or 2 wins or 1 or 2 losses, which tells me
Hmm.
there's a lot of parity, a lot of back and forth. So we are
Hmm.
battling out here. Everybody except Bob. Bob's just whooping ass. So that's all that's happening there. Speaking of whooping ass, let's find out who's going to whoop people's ass this coming week. First, I got you, man. You and Andy facing off. The non-experts facing off this week. Where do you see the edge in this week's matchup?
Oh, yeah. It's not gonna be a good week for Zach this week.
Is Cooper coming back this week? I think that'll be important part
Yeah,
for
that's
that.
very important. I mean, again, my roster right here isn't even right because as of right now,
Yep.
it replaced
Jalen
Waddle
Waddle's
with
not
Khalil.
on it.
Yeah, replaced Waddle with Khalil Shakur. So,
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes. I'm never the person that's going to hope for people to like be injured or stay injured. So I'm not going to say that. But if Drake London doesn't play this week, man, I wouldn't be too disappointed about it.
No, no, no.
But I doubt he's going to play. He's going to play.
Yeah, it's funny. I put those.
I don't love this week for me at all. I mean, granted,
I like your matchups.
Indianapolis sucks, so
Yeah,
maybe Buffalo can just go off on them. But again, I basically need it like everywhere. The way my team is this week, I need everyone to catch a touchdown or rush one or
yeah,
something, right? Like
yeah.
it's going to
The
be
only thing I would
weird.
tell you is I'd put Taysom Hill in for Wandale or something. I would figure that out. Like, you know
So
what?
I
Just get the
had
boom
that.
in there.
I had that set that way. You know why I changed it?
Why?
Kyle Pitts and Taysom Hill play each other.
Yeah, that's fine. What's
I
wrong
mean,
with
I
that?
get it, but
I like
I
to get
mean, that's,
correlation. If you think that's going to be like a high scoring game, or at least a game where if
it might,
Atlanta's like, yeah,
right?
like
It might.
that's how I like to do that. But
Yeah.
I would just say just to get them in there because Wandale's been up and down too. Now with Darius
Oh,
Slayton
yeah, I
starting to do
agree.
more, that's been
Oh, I
tough because
totally agree.
for a while there, Wandale was looking like the number two guy, and now it doesn't seem like it as much anymore. But I like a lot of your dude. Indy's defense, they've gotten better. They've shown some flashes, but they're not great. Arizona's gotten better. Again, not great. The Rams, not a good defense. New Orleans is not a good defense and gotten
Yeah.
worse now. So like I like your matchups, whereas for on Andy's side, hit or miss. I think similar like hit or miss on that side. That New Orleans Atlanta game will probably be just a big time game for you guys to then see who might take
Yeah.
it. So if you get Taysom Hill in there, you just never know. With New Orleans, they don't have anyone else to go to. Like just
No,
just fit them in. Zach, just go with it, man.
we probably
He'll
will.
he'll get you two or he'll get you 20.
I've changed it literally 6 times since Monday, so since
Yeah.
yesterday. I
But
mean,
that'll be an interesting one. So we'll see, and we'll
yeah,
see if Baker can still roll even against another tough defense in San Francisco. So that'll
right.
also be interesting. Next up, Bob versus me, and I'm sweating. That's all I could say. I mean, anytime you're facing Bob right now, you don't feel confident about it. We are the two top scoring teams in our league right now, so that's the only part that makes me feel better. I don't think Christian McCaffrey hits this projection unless somehow they're going to bring him in more goal line stuff and do it as for that. But I need Nico to come back from IR, and that's not even a certain thing. I need CMC to play. So I like this lineup, except for yeah, I don't love Kyler, so I might try to do something about that. Who knows?
There is not one single thing I like about your roster this week, and I'm dead serious. Not trying to poke you, and
uh,
you're right
Kyron
now.
against Miami.
Okay, one, one,
And
one.
Chargers defense
Your
against
quarterback, no,
Tennessee.
no, no. Your quarterback is playing the Jets.
I know that's tough. That's going to be
Jameer
a tough
Gibbs is
one.
playing Houston. You got the Tampa Bay defense. You playing against Detroit. You're playing against Minnesota. Like,
Yeah,
ugh,
this is not going
ugh.
to go well. It might not go so well.
This might be a bad week for you.
Yeah, Kyron and the Chargers defense. I'm leaning on you hard there.
So you need the Chargers defense to get 4 interceptions and 2 pick
I need them
sixes.
to do what they did this past week and get 20 points, basically. I need that, definitely. Oh my gosh. And on Bob's
I
side, Dallas sucks, man. Saquon and Jalen are going to whoop up on them. That's going to be too tough. Mixing against Detroit's defense, though, I don't like mixing
that
against that
yeah,
defensive
yeah.
line.
That's
But,
helpful for you.
but otherwise, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
and
tough.
New Orleans, and you got Mooney against New Orleans. They just traded Lattimore.
I
Ugh.
know. I know. This is
Ugh.
not going. This is
And
not
here's a
going
little
so
secret,
good.
right? I'll tell everybody. I'm the one that told Bob to get Mooney and start playing Mooney. I saw that coming quick. You could tell Kirk Cousins loves him, loves
Oh,
him.
I've said it from the very beginning because in the offseason, Kirk Cousins asked for Darnell Mooney. He wanted them to get Darnell Mooney. He said
Yeah,
it. So when you
yeah,
have a quarterback that says, I want this guy, well, you better get that guy. So he's on all my best ball teams and stuff,
yeah.
basically, because big time player there. But yeah, I'm worried. This will not
It's
go
not a
well.
lovely week for you to be matched up against him. That's for sure.
No, no, because even if the guys that come off of IR, play, you can't expect them to do what they normally do. And so therefore then you need boom from other guys. And to your point, not playing defenses that you'll normally boom against. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna try to find a way to move off of Kyler Murray. I'll just say that. I gotta figure
yeah.
figure that out. But I'm moving on. I don't want to talk about that anymore. I'm so over that. Next up, we have Casey at 6-3 and third in the West, going against Kyle, who's 4-5 and third in the East. So, battle of the thirds. Anything that you see here is a separator.
I would just be shocked if Kyle doesn't win this just because he's the only person on a 2 game winning streak. I know Bob's on 4, but
Yeah.
Kyle's won his last 2 games. I don't hate Aaron Rodgers against Arizona. Arizona's defense is getting a little better, but I think the Jets might be turning it on now, maybe.
Yep.
You got Derrick Henry, like I said, boy, he's a beast.
Yeah.
And obviously he's going to have a substitution for Kenneth Walker, but you got Justin Jefferson against Jacksonville. You got Devontae Smith against Dallas. I mean,
Yeah.
it's you got the Bills defense against Indy. Like I
Well,
see him coming away with a win here opposed to the other way around. I
well,
know
and
it looks
Kyle's gonna have to look at the waiver wire to cover for Kenneth Walker. Like he doesn't have the people on his bench right now, as I see it, that are going to be able to help him
yeah,
because Ty Chandler is not going. He's not the number two guy anymore. So even if you're going to trust him anyways, he's not going to do it.
right.
And so therefore, he doesn't have anybody else on his bench. He doesn't have another running back. So not only should he get rid of Ty Chandler anyways, but he's going to need to get probably a couple running backs on that list. So I would, and so I was gonna say he goes for a Khalil Herbert. Well, Khalil Herbert's not going to do anything this week. Are you going to pick up Cam Akers as the backup? Okay, he's still a backup, right? So there's not much on that side. So Kyle might be SOL when it comes to RB2. So we'll see. Kyle, this is kind of where it comes to might need to make a trade. I mean, a lot of these podcasts that I'll listen to, they talk about that. Like they're trading almost every week just to try to
Yeah,
get like for this week and what I need to do to get a W, especially if I'm in that mode. But
yeah,
Kyle might need to make a trade for another running back, just in general, just to get another guy, another person on a squad to cover that. But
right.
so that's going to be a tough part for him. Otherwise, I like the squad and I like what he's got going on. And to your point, Aaron Rodgers has gotten better. He hasn't, and you got the weapons for it now. Garrett Wilson's doing well. Devontae Adams doing well. Brees Hall's a great receiving running back.
Right.
So I think that does go well in his favor. However, Casey has Garrett Wilson. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So Casey has one of his weapons, which is great. So
Right.
this is going to be a tough one. I actually lean it Casey's way just partly because of that. And Casey has a lot of good players. We'll see how Dowdle does. I don't like Dowdle in this matchup, but otherwise I like all the rest of what he's got. And that Pittsburgh versus Washington game, that'll be a big one to see, what happens there.
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll move on to the next game, which is EJ versus Glenn. Glenn continues to hurt. Like I said, with Olave, as you heard from Dr. Sam, he's going to be out at least a week, if not a couple. And they are even talking, from what I hear, he might just be done for the year. So we'll see how that goes for him. And that's just another player that's out for Glenn, which is unfortunate on that side. But it's just I just feel for Glenn in that sense, man. He just keeps happening to him this whole year. So I lean EJ's way, especially if AJ Brown's going to play. You know, EJ he has also decent wide receiver options if Brown doesn't. Play like he's got some decent guys like Jordan Addison on his bench and stuff like that he could throw in that will still do pretty well for him. Anything that
Yeah.
you see that might lean a certain way?
No.
And yeah, Bo Nix against Kansas City. That's
Yeah.
going to
I
be a
just
tough
think
one.
it's
So a
rough
lot of tough
time for
stuff.
rough time for Glenn. I mean,
Yeah,
and maybe I can still work a trade with Glenn because obviously he still has a player that I was thinking of wanting. I might throw something out to him. I don't know. I don't know. I
yeah.
did want to mention this real quick because it just popped in my head. We were talking about the quarterbacks, and you were like, "No one traded quarterbacks. What quarterbacks are out there?" I actually put a couple of trades in with Josh Allen out there, but I never sent them. I did. I did.
Well, I meant trades as in the actual NFL. That's
Oh,
what
right,
I
right,
that's
right.
what I meant.
Oh,
Sorry,
gotcha.
I don't mean
Gotcha. Well, I just
yeah,
wanted to put it out there real quick while we're talking about it that if
yeah.
anybody is interested in a quarterback, I will shop Josh Allen, but I mean, you better make it worth it.
Do you like Kyler Murray? I don't know if you shared your thoughts on him yet.
You might be
Uh,
better off if you pick up Jared Goff and try to trade
yeah,
him.
right. Who knows, man? Who knows there? But but
Yeah.
yeah, it's not
No,
going to
this,
be
I
this year.
think this is going to be bad. I just,
Yep, it's going to be a
one of
tough
those, I
one.
feel bad for Glenn. He just can't seem to catch a break here.
Not at all. I know. I'm with you there. And like I said, on
And again, I
EJ's
love
side,
EJ's team. I mean,
yep.
I don't hate EJ's team one little bit.
Nope. He's got a good squad there. So
Yep.
and just a couple better squad with a couple guys on by. So
Yeah.
um anywho, we'll move on, Glenn. We won't pick on you anymore. Next
Yes.
up is Sam versus Allison. So some brotherly love for
Oh, I did
Allison maybe
not
to
see
help her
that.
out. But it's going to be a rough one for her. Obviously, Jacoby Myers is out, but she has Pickens. She has George Pickens, and he's been playing well with Russell Wilson. I know they got Mike Williams, but that means nothing to me. Really, it means zero on that side. So Pickens will add another like 13 to her projection if I looked at it right. 13, 13 and a half, something like that. So she'll be at like 108 for her projected point total just by doing that and putting him in. But otherwise, I don't mind a lot of her matchups, even though they are away. Most of her players are playing, not at home. Don't like Javante against Kansas City, but the only reason I do like Javante is like he'll probably do what Rashad White did. I look at Javante and Rashad White as like the same player now. So Rashad White got like 11 points, 12 points, and that's what Javante will do because they'll be down, they'll have to dump it off, they'll do whatever. But otherwise, I like Darnold against Jacksonville. Obviously, the Giants going against Carolina. Carolina sucks. Kincaid against the Colts. That's a good matchup, but ETN against Minnesota, don't like. But on the other side, on Sam's side, he's got a high projected total this week, and for good reason. You know, Burrow's going to have to throw against Baltimore, all that stuff. But anything else that you're seeing that you might adjust or think that could be a reason why Allison wins?
Actually, as I'm looking at it, I don't think she's as far off as it's showing here really at all because I like her matchups.
Right. Yeah.
Again, even though they're all away, I mean, Javante against Kansas City is rough, but besides that, I don't mind her matchups. You got the Giants are at Carolina, you got Dalton Kincaid at Indy.
Yep.
I don't love the Titans defense. I would probably change that.
She's been kind of changing it every week, so she's been streaming defenses every week against the matchup. So I'm sure that will change as well and add to her. But probably by the end, she'll have a projection around 110. And on his side, like it's sharing some of the matchups. I like some of them. Alvin Kamara is going to continue to get all the work, so he's just going to keep getting worked. But Connor against the New York Jets, that's a tough matchup. Hunter Henry against the Bears, another tough matchup. But otherwise, he might be sitting in a pretty spot too because he's got Tyreek Hill and Achane going against the Rams, who aren't a great defense, and they've also traded away Tre'Davious White now. Eagles
Yeah.
D going up against that depleted Dallas team that may not have CeeDee Lamb and they won't have Dak Prescott. So he's got some positives on his side as well.
Yeah.
So it'll be a tough one to overcome from Allison, but she'll need to get this W in order to stay in that playoff hunt.
Hmm.
So good luck, Allison.
Yep. Good
All right,
luck.
and then the last one that I have on our list, so this is the last matchup we'll talk about. We have Tyler going up against Louis. You've made that trade with Tyler, so he's been able to add. He's got Jonathan Taylor now into the lineup. Devontae Adams in his flex spot. So he's been able to and really improve. So his projected total at least jumped up, I think, 3 or 4 points after that trade happened for him. So maybe a few better options to mix in there. What do you see as like a separator or anything that you're thinking leans one way or the other?
I mean, maybe Lamar doesn't get 30 points against Cincinnati, because maybe they run the ball a lot,
Sure.
you know. I mean, that's about all I can see.
I
Uh,
know that's the tough part. CD Lamb may not play.
right.
And if here's what I'll say, if they decide to sit CD Lamb, Louis doesn't have someone else to put in, really, because T. Higgins is his other option. Well, T. Higgins hasn't practiced in how long, and he still was a DNP for Monday.
Right.
So who knows? And at that point, you're going to have to make a decision. Let's say he does play, T. Higgins does play. It's the Thursday night game. So you're going to
Right.
have to make a decision. Are you going to play T. Higgins Thursday night if he plays, just in case CeeDee Lamb doesn't play?
Right.
Maybe that's what you do. But if he doesn't do that, and then CeeDee Lamb doesn't play, he's going to have to make a move to get a wide receiver option for his team in
Right.
there. Because you can see he's running with three running backs, and that's because that's what he kind of has to run with
Yeah.
right now.
Well, sorry, Louis, but I hope Tyler wins so that the trade makes him feel even better.
Yeah, it looks good. Devontae Adams has performed better and has gotten
Yeah.
he's good. He's getting worked in.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that's why his projected total is almost a full 3 points above his
Yeah.
average, and it's for
Right.
that reason. So I like that in there. Hopkins has done better now with Kansas City, so
Hmm.
we'll see how that ends up winding up against the Denver defense. It's pretty tough. But Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman together, we'll see how that goes. Flacco's supposed to play again, so we'll see how that goes for Tyler on that end. But I lean Louis' way. He's been running hot,
Yeah.
whereas Tyler's been running cold the last 3 weeks. Louis been at 125 plus the last 3 weeks. Um, and if we take away the negative points he had last week, he was actually at like 136, so he was really pretty high up there at 139. Whereas
Right.
Tyler's gone the opposite way. So hopefully this trade will mix it up, get some more juju going in the right direction for Tyler.
Yeah.
Well, good luck to everybody in week 10. Do you have anything that you want to share or say as parting words to our clan in general?
I don't think so. Just
Okay.
make sure. I would say that actually, I would say this because I think someone mentioned this. This might have been in my other league, but it might have been this league. Again, if you send someone a trade offer, probably try to reach out to them and let them know that you sent them one so that they look at it. And if someone sends you a trade offer and you don't want it and you tell them you don't want it, just reject it, like so that they know,
Yeah.
like Kyle, call anybody out, but Kyle told me no, but he left the trade up there. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll cancel it. But,
Yeah. I would agree
just
with
hit,
that too. Like if
yeah,
you send
just
an
make
offer
sure you're
out,
responding to them. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Don't leave people hanging and not knowing because, again, in my situation, I had multiple trades out there and didn't know what was going to go. And, you know,
No, that's very true. I say that in general, especially when it comes to it. If you're communication and trading is so important in
yeah,
general, whatever
yeah,
it is. I also don't like a trade being sent and then just rejected with no word said at all. Because I look at it as like if someone sent you an offer because they're interested in a player, and if you
yeah,
didn't like their offer, that's one thing. But if you I guess what I say is if you don't want like their offer, let them know like, hey, I'm willing to trade this guy, but this is what I'm looking for.
right,
Or if you're not willing to trade a guy, just say that. I think there needs to be communication on
right,
all the sides to say, hey, I'm not willing to part with this player right now,
right.
versus
So
not
I'll
saying a
give
word.
Kyle, to your point, I'll give Kyle that. He gave me an explanation of why he didn't want to do the
Oh
trade.
yeah.
He was like, I don't think that I would ever play this player over these two. Like that's what he told me. He was like, I don't
Yeah.
think I would, so I'm not really interested.
Yeah. No, and that
Yeah.
makes sense, but I agree in the app because it happens in Sleeper as well, where it'll send trades and they'll just sit there. And
Yep.
it's like, and I've reached out to people before and said, "Hey, man, just checking
Yep.
in, trying to be nice about it."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when it's 3-4 days go by, it's like, well, we
Yeah.
got to make lineups, and I got to do
Yep. Yep.
stuff.
Yep. Yep.
So it is important to be timely with it. And to your point, reach out to the person too. In general, we have our group chat that we have. If anybody has a question of like, hey, I don't have everybody's number saved, reach out to me. I have obviously everybody's number.
Yeah.
So reach out to me to say, hey, I'd like to reach out to Kyle, but I don't have his number. I don't know which one is his.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. That way you can reach out, say who you are, because it's an
Right.
important part is to communicate throughout the process on what
Absolutely.
you're looking for. And that's all you can do. I mean, we all have different views on players and player takes and what we're
Absolutely.
hoping for. And to your point, like what does the future look like versus what the past looked like, stuff like that,
Hmm.
and you just never really know what's going to happen. But yeah, please communicate appropriately, and if you're having any struggles, also let me know on that too. I'm happy to help out anybody to communicate or bridge, make a bridge real quick or whatever it could be to get that moving. But for the most part, I feel like we have people who are at least responding. I don't have that issue really in our league,
Yeah.
but I definitely have it in other leagues. I mean, I've had to reach out
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
commissioners before, including Sam,
Yeah.
different Sam, not Sam from here, to say, "Hey, I sent this trade offer out," and even was like DM the guy to like say, "Hey, here's what I think," and then I just when you don't hear back, and I don't know these people, so
Yeah.
you don't hear back
Yeah.
multiple days, it's kind of annoying, and it's like, all right, like
That's why you guys got brought in because a couple of them are just really inactive. It's like,
yeah, and that's not fun because I've been
no.
on like dynasty leagues where you do that, and what it essentially does is if somebody kind of quits on it or is not paying attention, that's a group of players that's no longer available. Like they might be a
And,
bad team.
and it's
There's,
basically freebie weeks for whoever they're playing too.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
that happens too, where yeah, they're not paying attention, not doing stuff, you know, like it just
Yeah.
kind of annoying
Yeah.
all around. But
Yep.
so far, I haven't seen any issues with our league
No,
and
no.
that. So I'm
Everyone in our league's
awesome.
been good. Yep.
And I appreciate you all for that. And I hope and to me it seems like an engaging league too. So I feel like we engage
Yeah.
each other. Everybody
Yeah.
chats, everybody talks, and I love that because
Yeah.
I've been in too many where it's none at all. And then I'm now at the point where I dropped out of the league from one of my neighbors. I was in his league 1 year, and like the chatter was so little. Like at one point, I tried to make a trade, and I didn't know these people really, and I knew, and so I even like messaged, "Hey, this is me. This is my number. I'd love to get others." Not a single person responded with like their name, their number, nothing. There was like no chatter, and it was like, all right. I just told him like, dude, I'm out. I don't want to be in a league where there's no communication and
Yeah.
it's like and it just seems like
Yeah.
only certain people trade with each other because they know each other. And it's like that's no fun
Right.
either. We got to be able to
Well,
do it all.
and quickly, I'll be fast. I do want to apologize that I was MIA for a couple weeks, but as everyone can see, oh wait, it's all blurry. Sorry.
It's
I
all
still
blurry.
I still have car parts sitting on my floor from my car.
Oh
So
my god.
I mean it's fixed. It's like 99% all together now again, but
So you're driving now?
yeah, well,
Okay.
yes and no. I mean, I shouldn't be driving it right now because I need these clips for the top of my grill to connect to my hood, basically. Like it's not my hood, but it's the piece that
Yeah.
connects.
Yeah.
And the top of my grill is four screws are not connected, but I mean, that's it. So yes, I can drive it and I have, but I need to get these clips and fix that.
Got it.
That's why I said it's 99% done. Like it's everything's on, it looks great, everything's new, but those clips and bolts I don't have in there right now, and I need to get those.
Well, I'm glad to hear it's back running, and we're glad that you're back with us. It's a different league when you're communicating with us as well, so we appreciate that too. So glad to have
Yeah,
you back, brother, man.
yeah, it was a pretty hectic couple weeks there.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous,
yeah.
but
Also,
yeah,
happy birthday to Taylor. I sent him a happy
yeah,
birthday earlier, but for those of you who know
yeah,
Taylor, it's his birthday today. So big happy birthday to him. Is he working?
he
Oh,
was, yeah,
he was,
yeah,
yeah. So now
yeah.
go party with him a little bit, all right,
Right,
man?
right. Go take a shot with him.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, much love
All
to you,
right, good
brother.
luck, everybody. Much love. Later, man.
Yeah. Peace.